Good morning, traders. This is Spirit Woki with StartupTrading.com. It is 8:50 a.m. Eastern Time on Monday, June 7th. So looking at where we are right now, so we basically all-time high in the extended session is 42.38. The all-time session for the bell high is 42.32, which we double topped on Friday. I wouldn't hold your breath on that for being resistance. And if we look at it right now, we're basically at 42.32 right now. So we'll see if we can push through that extended session, 42.38 today, see what happens. We've been basically stuck in about 160 point range for the better part of 2 months now. So we'll see we're at the top end of that range. We'll see what happens when we push up, right? Do we just form a little excess and fall off? Or can we, get some momentum going above basically 42.30 is what I'll call it. So looking at all the indexes, and I'm going to go ahead and maximize these. So the Russell has been leading most of the year, and then the other indexes have played catch up. And then as soon as they catch up a little bit, it seems like it goes back up a little bit more. So we'll see if that trend continues or not. It's been going back up after the fall. It's been coming back up and hitting these resistance zones and churning through them to the upside. So the next measure above really is this 2304, let's call it, to 2310, and we'll see that's 20 points up from where we are right now. And we'll see if we can start pushing back up towards there today. Falling back below 2273 anytime this week, and really you could call it 65, but somewhere in that neighborhood, right? That's going to be weakness and just some more consolidation lower. But after that push up, last week and the week before late, it's really holding on to those gains nicely. It's consolidating, and it looks very positive on the tape for the bulls. Looking at the ES, as we mentioned, there's nothing to see here. We have no resistance above other than technical, targets. There, we have no history on the chart up here to speak of. I wouldn't hold your breath on those 6 points between 32 and 38 on that. Looking at the NASDAQ had that long consolidation basically for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 sessions, 9 maybe, and then as we come back down, tried to go lower, come back up and testing higher. I'd say really for the NASDAQ, anything above 13,000, let's call it 680 is going to be very positive, and that's that swing low overnight. It'd be more positive if we don't even get back below during the bell, below 13,730-ish. And then I think we're going to finally get that test up there, 13,825. And you can see that basically once you get above 18,000 or 13,840 to 45, right, you're in a different distribution that leads basically all the way back up to the all-time highs. So the real struggle is going to be in this valley, this low volume node that's basically between 13,800 and 13,000, let's call it 862, is where it's going to churn through with previous, levels at 13,825 that had lasted quite a while. So we'll see what happens when it gets up there. The title of my video, going back to the NASDAQ here for a second, is that G7 big tech to actually pay tax. We'll see what this happens with, but over the weekend the G7 did put in a minimum tax. For those of you that don't really follow tax code and what everyone really does, the top marginal rates are pretty much bullshit. Nobody pays the top marginal rates for anything except on their last dollars of income. And a lot of these companies, right, as we know from the, those that followed it a little bit, big tech has virtually paid zero taxes in the last 20 years. So all of the names that hold up the NASDAQ 100 and are a large part of the S&P 500 now, and a few in the Dow, right? They've really paid no tax over the last 20 years. So now they're talking about making them pay a minimum of 15% tax. Well, when you go paying from nothing to paying 15%, that's substantial. That's going to be a hit on the revenue, your net profits and everything else. So and it'll squeeze what they're able to do with their free cash basically. So we'll see what the market's reaction to that is. That's only the G7 countries that signed up for that, but that's where the most of these larger companies around the world are actually headquartered. And I didn't look to see when that's supposed to take effect. So we'll see if that even gets anywhere. Right now, it sounds like an agreement, but, with all these little talks that come out of a weekend huddle up, that can fall apart. I'll believe that big tech is going to pay 15% minimum tax when I see them actually paying it. I'm laying my bet that it'll never happen. So as we look at that, but what we want to watch today is the market's reaction to that, because these companies are the weight of the NASDAQ 100, the NQ, and the S&P 500 for the most part. They've been stalling out and consolidating, and they were just starting to move back up again, which would really push us up to somewhere between 44 and 4,800 probably throughout the rest of this year. So we'll see if that stalls that out. So watching this excess and to see if the NASDAQ can cross over this node and watching the response to that, I think will be interesting this week. And we'll see how that follows out. But don't be surprised if once that starting bell rings this morning, opening bell, that you just see some of those big tech cap stocks liquidate a little bit. Look at the Dow now. There's really no resistance I have up until that 35,000 level now, and it has by far held up the best as far as pullbacks. It never got under consolidations. So we'll look at that. Overnight action, 18.5 points. If we back out and we look at these level fours, what you have here is, we could potentially print up towards 42.73 today. I think that's unlikely, but we could print up on a bullish tape, right? If we can hold above 30, right, we can obviously get to 42, 45 to 55 today. And I think that would be just a little bit above R2, right around R2 is what I would look for on a bullish tape. That's only about 15 points up from where we are right now. And keep in mind, it is summertime tape, and that might be all we really get. So we'll see if the Dow being so bullish, and like I said, once the opening bell rings, watching the NASDAQ. So for resistance for the NASDAQ, basically getting back up above 13,851 is resistance going back to May 3rd. Those were single prints that it jetted underneath at that point in time. And below that, there's another little level for the NASDAQ that it needs to churn through. That's from that 13,824. I mark 825 on the other chart as the top end of that, and it starts down at 837.5. Looking at the Russell for the same type of deal, you've got resistance overhead that goes back to April 29th, that goes from 2302.4 to 2303.8. So that would be the target to kind of test to the upside for the NASDAQ and the Russell. That's really what I'm going to be watching for the upside, because the overnight action is all inside of Friday's value areas basically. I think that it's going to be a nice, decent, we'll know early on, right, if we're going to get any trending or if it's going to be chop and we fall back into range. I hope this helps. You guys have a great day, and I will talk to you tomorrow.